Boy, this is going to be a good one right here. We got interesting situation that continues in my birth city of Chicago. Born and raised on the south side, got the heck out of there, been in Missouri ever since. So on the topic of whether or not to send the National Guard troops, let's check out some recent comments by the governor of the state of Illinois, and then we're going to come back. I'm going to share with you a comment, a kind of wild comment that was left by one of my faithful subscribers. And then I'm going to share with you some shocking statistics that might leave you rubbing your head, because I don't think you're really ready to see the results of this poll that I dug up. So I'm going to share that with you for sure. But let's first start out and check out this little video clip so we can hear what the governor has to say. So let's jump on over here to YouTube. There we go. And let's see what he has to say here, and then we'll come back and talk it over.
All right, we're getting details on arrests by ICE during Operation Midway Blitz. 13 people have been arrested this week in Chicagoland. Authorities say they did have prior convictions or pending charges for crimes ranging from sexual assault of a child to armed robbery to domestic violence. Meantime, Governor Pritzker says that the National Guard might not be coming to Chicago after all. He says sources in the White House who have been keeping him informed on the topic have stopped calling.
I'm always glad to know he's not sending them to Chicago. We don't need them. There is not an emergency in Chicago that requires military troops on the ground. And so I hope he does not send them into any other American cities, because I do not think, if there is not an emergency or an insurrection, that anyone in this country deserves to have their city invaded by military troops led by the President of the United States.
Governor Pritzker further condemned the president's National Guard plan, saying if the president was actually concerned about lowering crime in Chicago, Pritzker says he would bring in more FBI or ATF agents.
Wow. Nobody deserves to have their city invaded by the U.S. military. No, that would just be terrible, wouldn't it? Boy, I tell you, let's just zip back here to this picture right here. Nobody deserves to have someone come in and disrupt the good people of Chicago like this, right? We don't need a National Guard invasion. That would be horrible. Far worse than letting bozos like this. How many people do we have here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 people that Operation Midway Blitz has cleaned up. So despite having the National Guard in, ICE is not skipping a beat. Now, some people might be upset that we've removed all of these people off of the streets of Chicago. They should be left alone, right? They have a right to have these good visitors from other countries coming to do business in the city of Chicago. And then Donald Trump just comes in and messes that all up because, oh man, he's just an evil dictator that wants to crack down on the people. Okay, now here's an interesting comment that I'm going to read from one of the subscribers. So let's jump back over here to the desktop, and I'm going to bring up this comment by the subscribers. Let's pull that up, and here we have it. So Auntie 7077 said, Carlton, I have always expressed that Trump will not send any troops here. Yeah, so have I, because he doesn't have the permission from the governor. It has to come from the governor. And although he kept doing, all of the saber rattling and making the threats, he wasn't going to send the troops if the governor did not ask it. So he said, well, fine, sit there in your crime-ridden town and be happy while we take care of the illegals. So she goes on to say, he is just the ultimate bully. That's right. Trump is a bully. Now, these folks aren't bullies right here. They're just good people, good visitors from other countries around the world. They don't bully anyone in the neighborhoods of Chicago. Trump's the bully. He's just the ultimate bully. And it's gonna backfire on him badly. Just wait. Yeah, I'll tell you what. Maybe Chicago or the criminals, these guys, maybe they're going to go get Trump. That might be the backfire. Maybe they'll break out from the vans where they were locked up and removed from ICE, and they're going to go get Trump and get revenge on him for being a bully. Okay, well, anyway, so she goes on to say some interesting things. The whole administration is no better than the Democrats. Well, they're not doing Chicago any better. Actually, they are, because at least they're handling these people right here where the Democrats want them to stay. Your illustrious 6% approval rating governor, what is his name? I've been calling him Jackass Johnson for so long, I'm forgetting his name off the top of my head. Well, he wants these people here. He spent $600 million to get these people on the streets of Chicago to do their business, to do their thing, right? And then Donald Trump and the administration sends ICE to take these people off the streets. But we'll just go along with what you're saying. The whole administration is no better than the Democrats. So why bother comparing? Well, I'm going to show you some statistics, and I'm going to show you why it's worth a bother comparing and why a lot of people might not be laughing along with you as you continue to say LOL. I have looked at the southern states that are red. Okay, their crime rate in some places worse than Chicago. Interesting grammar there. It's just politics. Those are the big fat ticks that I guess they get on a politician and they become a politic that serve nor help no one. Okay, they serve nor help no one. So, of course, the National Guard is going into Memphis, Tennessee, a red state. And yes, the crime is terrible. That's what I was talking about on the last video where it said no troops for you, Chicago, because they're going to go to the red state. But, of course, they swore that the Trump administration would not set foot into a red state because he only wants to bully the blue states. But there we see Donald Trump releasing the National Guard into Memphis to crack down on crime or just bully the residents, right? Okay, so that's just politics that serve nor help no one. Okay, well, that is interesting, very, very interesting. And then we'll go on to talk about how this whole administration is no better than the Democrats and why bother complaining. LOL. Okay, enough of that. Let's go to these interesting statistics here. And I'm going to show you what I dug up and why maybe some people should care. So let's just check out and read this information. Let me pull this over so you can read it along. All right, here we go. Population of Chicago. Check this out. As of 2025, the population of the city of Chicago is approximately 2,611,867 people, according to estimates from World Population Review based on U.S. Census data. Okay, so Auntie is one of those 2.6 million, and she's speaking for them all, or not. Okay, now what about the rough percentage of people who are in favor of National Guard intervention to stop crime? Recent polls indicate that support for deploying the National Guard to address crime in Chicago is low. An August 2025 poll conducted by M3, sponsored by the Conservative Law and Order PAC, found that 35% of Chicago residents support the National Guard intervention, while 65% oppose it. So, Auntie, you represent the 65%, but unfortunately, 35% of those people don't agree with you. This reflects broader sentiment as other surveys and community feedback, for example, the residents in high crime areas like Parkway Gardens or the South Side, where I grew up, show widespread opposition, with some polls suggesting nearly 80% rejection in similar urban contexts. Factors like concerns over civil rights, potential escalation of tensions, and a noted decline in violent crime down citywide in 2025. We talked about that. We're down to 500 murders a year, contribute to the low support. Let's do a little math real quick for Auntie. And let's just take 2,611,867 and multiply that by 0.35. That's how you get 35%. And that means you have 914,153 people that aren't laughing about your comment, Auntie. They don't agree. So what do? You've got nearly 1 million people who are reaching out to the Trump administration because the 6% approval rating Mayor Brandon the Jackass Johnson and your round-faced Governor JB Pritzker won't request for help. So what do? I guess according to you, they just should shut up, sit down, and enjoy. Let's go back to that picture again. Enjoy these people running rampant in your streets and committing crimes. Just shut up and deal with it. We want to allow them to continue doing their business. Now, here's what's interesting. The rough percentage of black people in Chicago in favor of National Guard intervention is different. Check this out. The black residents, who make up about 28% of Chicago's population, that's about 900,000 people, show slightly higher but still limited support for National Guard intervention compared to the general population. Now, how about that? So you've got a bigger percentage of black people that are saying, hey, come and help. We need help because our jackass mayor is not going to do anything about the crime because the crime bosses and the cartel have him in their back pocket. Okay, so they are appealing. So what you're effectively saying is that the 900,000 people in the black community have no right to appeal. Okay, so the same poll from August 2025 indicated that higher support among black respondents for increased policing measures overall, which includes hiring more officers, but specific figures for National Guard deployment among black Chicagoans were not explicitly detailed in the results, but the qualitative reports from high crime, predominantly black neighborhoods, all right, suggest that opposition is strong, with community leaders and residents advocating for investments in social services and youth programs, which don't work, and violence intervention rather than military involvement, like Kamal Woods getting $500,000 from the government, all right, and federal funds to spend, which he did, and not show any proof that he stopped a single person from committing a crime, all right. Well, the other 28% disagree with the nonsense. They disagree with these measures that don't work. All right. Actually, it's not 28%. It says right here that from the CBS News YouGov September 2025 poll, it's implying that around 30 to 40% of the black community, black urban residents, support the interventions. Those Chicago-specific data for this demographic leans towards a majority of opposition, all right, 60 to 70%. So in other words, they're there. They are there. Now, I would love to see you have a conversation or a debate with Flip Chicago Red that has constantly been in the face of the Chicago City Council and the illustrious 6% approval rating Mayor Brandon the Jackass Johnson, stating that he is wrong for spending $600 million of taxpayers' money to invite all of these lovely people from foreign countries to do business in the streets of Chicago while not spending money protecting the neighborhoods. Well, that's interesting. So I would love to know what your thoughts are on that. And again, are they just supposed to keep their mouth shut? Shut up, go away. Sorry, you don't have a say in this. You're telling me that of the 900,000, we're talking 200,000-300,000 black people in Chicago don't have a voice. So what you're doing is disenfranchising those people, my people, right? Just like they did in the 60s when they tried to disenfranchise black people, 50s and 60s. Well, now we're trying to disenfranchise the 300,000 black people in the city that are screaming, crying out for help, and fighting the city council and the mayor for not investing in police protection. What are your thoughts about that? I would love to know while we continue to watch this whole situation in Chicago play out. So go ahead and post in the comments and let me know, what are your thoughts about this, about Auntie's statement? If you are black and on the South Side, I really would love to know what you think about what she had to say. And if this is a laughing matter, and if it just doesn't make a difference, so you shouldn't bother comparing the Democrats to the Republicans because they're all the same. It's just politics that serve nor help no one. Let me know what you think about that. And then, of course, like, comment, and subscribe. I got a lot more stuff coming your way, and I'm still working on the deep dive where I'm going to show you proof that your politicians in Chicago, they're controlled by the mob. They're controlled by the mafia, the cartel, the gang bosses control them all. Now, it's okay. I know some people hate the Republicans. They hate the Trump administration. They would rather sit up and be shot at on the daily and allow Brandon Johnson to decrease the size of the police force than to see someone step in and make the neighborhoods more safe. And that's all right. That's your opinion. Maybe you just think Chirac is a place that should be left alone and you have a right to live in that mess. Just like my family had the right to get the hell out of there, which we did, and I'm not ever looking back. Again, I love my city, but I just don't want to live there. That's enough to think about. That's enough to talk about. And I'm sure everybody's going to spout off in the comments. You are welcome, no matter what your viewpoints are. We'll respect your right to express your freedom of speech. So let it fly. Please let it fly. And that's about all I got for this. And this is Carlton, and I am out.